Promineo Tech Front-End Bootcamp Week 7 project with JavaScript using arrays and functions. First, we created an array using a set numbers as their values, and did subtraction problems with the first and last numbers in the array using 0 and .length -1, as this works with all sizes of arrays. Even after pushing a new value in, it still correctly solved the problem. Then we found the average by iterating through a for loop to add everything together into one sum, and then dividing it by the length of the array in order to find the average. Next, I created an array of strings using the .length property on the index section itself. I found the length of each string, converted it into a number, and added it to a sum in order to find the average length of each name in the array. Next, I concatenated all strings in the array together, again with a for loop to add them together with a space in between. The same thing could be done with join for a shorter and easier method of doing so. Next, I created a new array, name lengths, using the names array. I found the length of each string in the array and pushed the number into an empty array in order to create a new array with just the numbers. Then I iterated over that array in order to calculate the sum of all the elements in the array and return it to the console. Next, I concatenated a word given as an argument n number of times, again an argument, as you can see here. I added them all into an empty string in order to create strings with the number of words in them. Then I created a function that makes a full name from a first name and last name. I used a template literal in order to add a space in without the longer concatenation. Next, I took an array of numbers to return true in this function if the sum is greater than 100. I tested it with two different arrays. One returned true and the other undefined because I do not have an else statement to tell it what to do when it is equal to or less than 100. But again, I iterated through with a for loop in order to create this sum. Next, I wrote a function that took the same array of numbers and returned the average. So I tested it twice, and I used the toFixed property in order to limit it to only 2 decimal places. Then I wrote a function to compare the averages of two arrays and return true if the first average was greater than the second average. I used for loops to add sums again and divided by the length of each array. Again, with no else statement, when the second average is not the smaller average, then it returns undefined. Next, I created a function that takes in a Boolean and a number and returns true if both are true, with a comparison here of greater than 10.50. This time I added an else statement in order to return false when one or both of them are false. So I tested it with a few different inputs, and only the one with both inputs true is true, the others coming out false. Finally, I created a function of my own that takes in 3 arguments, used the .floor method in order to round to the next lowest integer when I was dividing by 3. Then I added the next argument and did this same thing again to add the final argument and get a final value as seen here.